Harmony or
Yeah,
one of
something.
those.
So here's the thing, when you do screen share, Shannon. Oh, and record it too, and then we'll get this party started. There she is.
Good morning, everybody. Hal, this is kind of fun. As you know, I have 3 very sports-oriented sons, and they're always watching games, and there's always the people in the studio and the people at the sidelines. So I don't know, feel kind of like that. Yeah, guys, I'm just getting over the tail end of a little bug. So happy that we can do things this way. We have a really exciting meeting today. There's so much good information. And first of all, though, I'm feeling a little sad because I put in the chat that I wanted everybody to write something they're grateful for, and you all left me hanging. So come on, everybody, give us a little feel good. Everybody throw something in the chat, for those of you guys at home, something good. We are in the season of thankfulness here as we got Thanksgiving, a week and a half away. And I love this time of year. I used to hate the winter because I hate being cold. Thanks so much, Diane Curry. I hate being cold, but I've really grown over the last few years. I think COVID slowed us all down, and I so enjoy, as I hope many of you do, being home, being quiet, having time with family, starting to prepare for whatever holidays you celebrate. And I would say sometimes business is a little slower this time of year. It's always quirky. Some years it is, some years it isn't. All of the signs are telling us that we're heading to a shift and things are going to be slower. But I don't know why, guys. I've had strange conversations with agents all week that they've all gotten busy as heck this week. So I don't know if that's a coincidence. I don't know if it's a blip. I don't know what it is. But anyway, if there's business out there, grab it. And if there's some downtime to enjoy doing other things that you love, grab that too and recharge, because we all know it's a tough business and we gotta get after it most of the time, but you need to recharge as well. So I'm grateful to be in business with all of you. We are absolutely grateful here on Veterans Day for all the veterans who served this country. And you know what, Katie, let's throw that slide up. One thing, I don't know if you guys feel, but I really feel over the last few years, as you go through life, there does seem to be a lot more people taking the time to show their gratitude to veterans. So I know Keller Williams has a big military community. We're always looking to honor our veterans. We're looking to bring any veterans out there who want to make a career change into our Keller Williams family and help and support them to grow their best life. So to any of you that think there's a veteran out there we should be talking about, please do. And to all the veterans among our KW family, we are so incredibly grateful for your service. All right, Katie, let's go to the next slide. Yes, also grateful for family reunion. You guys, you hear me say it all the time. When I was an agent, there were years I could scarcely afford it. There were years where the money wasn't an issue. And either way, most years I went, I never once, not once, didn't believe that it paid itself off in spades. Between what you learn, the network, referrals you're likely to get because of it, changes that you're likely to make to your business that will pay off. Honestly, I don't know why almost all of you don't go. So hopefully everybody that's on this call that cares enough about themselves and their business to invest their time and be on an office meeting call like this. You guys, I'm probably preaching to the choir. I'll bet most of you have already signed up. Please do. I know Kara has put together a really nice rooftop bar party February the 18th that everybody from our 3 market centers will be invited to. So that'll be a lot of fun as well. If you guys have questions about it, let us know. Over the next week or two, we're going to be setting up a little internal Facebook group for those who sign up to Family Reunion. So if you're looking to share a room with someone or organize travel plans so that you can show up with somebody. If any, I had somebody at Mega Camp told me they felt a little nervous because they were sort of going on their own and showing up alone, and I hadn't thought about it. So we want to try to create a little bit more of a community for any of you that might be feeling that way. Maybe you're not sure whether you should go or not. Talk to Hal, Maria, Allison, Howard, Kara, myself, MCAs, whoever. We want to talk you through it and get you comfortable with going. It'll pay dividends in your business. The next thing, the next slide that I really, really am excited about. Katie, are you there? Can you throw the next slide up? Okay, I'll just talk about it. Hey Maria, are you somewhere that you can switch the slide? Guys, next week, our ALC, DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee has put together something I'm really excited about. Carlos Gomez from Westfield, as you guys know, is on that committee. And we have put together a panel of very, very, very big producers who are involved in some of the various diversity communities within KW. And I think this is good. First of all, it's going to be a great panel because they're all mega agents who are doing good things we can learn. Number one, we can all learn a little bit about what their experience has been having, coming at this profession with diversity. How does that help you? Number one, we all want to sell more homes, and we all hear a lot of the statistics that where business is going to be coming from in large part over the next few years are from some of our diverse communities. So let's continue to work on our sensitivities to what some of those special issues might be. That's number one. Number two, a lot of diverse communities are very underrepresented in the real estate community. I'm not saying Keller Williams. It's true in Keller Williams. It's true everywhere. Diverse populations are not getting real estate licenses as much, as their different communities, should be represented in terms of numbers. So it might be a really great opportunity for you guys to, one of two things, invite people to this panel who maybe are toying with getting a real estate license and haven't, or people in other companies who really would appreciate the Keller Williams culture around a lot of issues, diversity included. So of all the things I'm grateful for next week, this is really high on my list, guys. I'd love to see a lot of you there. Let's go to the next slide. A lot of you guys have been taking advantage of these home-based workshops that we've been doing, and you've been taking advantage of it to really, it's really a free client appreciation event. What you're going to want to do, and what some of you have been doing a darn good job of, is in getting this out to your sphere and inviting them to come. It's going to make you look good, I promise. This week's one is about taking steps towards a greener home. There's so many things that we all can do. And I think whether, however important being green is on your spectrum, it's actually pretty important to mine. But whether it is or it isn't, it's a great thing for you to have your clients come and learn. And we always put together a nice evening. So please invite people to that. Let's go ahead, Katie. Okay, we are going to spotlight Jean Rogalin here, who is going to talk to us about something I'm really excited about. As Jean's coming on, I'll just let you guys know what I love about this is merging with our Montclair Keller Williams family. This is something they've been doing in the past, and we all love to learn from each other. And so we're adopting that over here as well. Jean, I'll shut up. You talk.
All right. Well, thank you. I don't know where I'll pop up if not. But the attitude of gratitude, as Shannon said, we are borrowing this from the Montclair office. I think all of us like to feel appreciated. And what the attitude of gratitude is, if you have somebody, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. Think of someone in our market centers that you're grateful for. Stop by or call into the front desk so Katie or Shelly can help you. You don't have to leave the comfort of your own home to make this happen. And what you'll do is for $5, you can purchase one of these leaves and they can fill out your gratitude statement for you. You can be anonymous. You can put your name. The $5 per leaf goes towards our Heart Fund. And that is for our Westfield and Summit offices. Our Heart Fund is there for our KW agents and their families in case there's medical or some other type of emergency that you need our help with. So our goal is $5,000 per market center. So do the math, 10,000. Here's hoping you can help us with that. We are then going to, and we put some examples up there. So we're grateful for John, Matt, and Brian for all their support. Lucy Thompson, Carlos Gomez, you get the idea. Oh, well, thanks. Ron Carson.
So wait, so, okay, Jean, sorry, keep going, my bad.
The money's just for the office, correct? Yes. So the deadline on that, though, is November 18th, Friday, November 18th. So mark your calendars. You will see an invite come out to please join us at our Attitude of Gratitude Friendsgiving. So that's going to be, here's the flyer for that. You can click on the RSVP. It'll take you to a Sign Up Genius, where we'd love for you to bring an appy, a side, or a dessert, and the Market Center is going to cover turkey and ham. And this will be a joint luncheon at the Summit office. So that's our internal things we're doing for our agents and our little KW family locally. Quick little sidebar on helping others. How's everybody doing on their business plan? I don't know if we got thumbs up or not. Everybody's all set for 2023. All right, so 36 touch. 36 touch. We have a touch for you. Go back to your mail November 4th, and we'll keep sending this out, and search Coat Drive. You will find this flyer for our Coat Drive. Oh, there it is. Thank you. And right underneath that will be, you can cut and paste everything that you need to send out in social media, in an email to your sphere, inviting them to help us help those that are supported by Project Kind 123. Thank you, Stephanie Zecca, for bringing them to our attention. And this is a great way for us to help our community, and a great way for you to be able to reach out to your sphere. So that's so far all we have from the Culture Committee for now. We will have some holiday giving events that we'll want to roll out to you. So I think that's it. Any questions? We're good? All right, so stop by, call in, email in. The way you can buy one of those leaves is either cash, check, or we can charge it to your account. So really easy to do to show your gratitude for your colleagues and our staff. So thanks, everybody, and see you soon.
Hey, Jean.
Yes.
Jean, come
Yes.
back.
I'm back. Yes.
I'm super grateful for the leadership you've provided through ALC to our Culture Committee, and by extension to all of us in our 3 Market Center families, and by
Aw.
extension to that as cultural ambassador for all of KW. So please
Oh, well, thank you.
accept my
I'm
great heartfelt
I'm
gratitude and
honored.
everyone
So
else's too.
it's
Thank you.
it's a great family. It's a great environment for all of us to shine and help each other. So thank you for the opportunity. So, and I
Thanks,
feel like
Jean.
I'm on the Wizard of Oz, because your voice is up here somewhere, but I can't see you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, then moving on to other exciting things. Katie, are you guys there? Awesome. So those of you guys that are in Westfield are seeing all the amazing art on the wall, and I've gotten so many wonderful comments about it. For those of you that aren't there, that are hitting this remotely at some point, you might want to stop in. But as you'll notice, we have an art collection from somebody named Ricardo Roig. And he's a local, I believe he's a local artist and a teacher at one of our local Westfield schools. He is doing a special partnership with us in exchange for us getting some of his art exposed. He is giving a generous discount off his art pieces. So you guys will be getting a flyer about that. There are also some flyers at the front desk. I mean, it's really stunning. I know Bridget and Marisa are our favorite sold sisters. I think recently gave one as a closing gift to a client, which is a great idea. For any of the art lovers in your life, the holidays are coming up. So that might be something that is a nice win-win for a local artist, and you guys will be getting a discount. So happy about that. So I am hearing that the technology problem is that for some reason the slides are delayed when we change. So there you go. Who doesn't love the holiday party? I'm so happy every year at how well attended this is. This year, as we haven't, sometimes in the past, we're doing it at Baltusrol Golf Club, 4 to 7. That's Friday, December 2nd. That's going to be for both Westfield and Summit KW family. So I'm hoping everyone is taking their phone out right now and putting that in the schedule, because I'm really excited to see all of you. I'm already starting to stress about what to wear. You might be too. Maybe Ronnie Chasen will help me. She's good at things like that. Just making sure you're paying attention, Ronnie. All right, next up, you know what okay. Hal, can we do one tiny little thing? Will you jump up here, Hal?
Hello.
You know what it occurred to me is that we haven't introduced Shelly yet, who's new with our Summit family. Is there any
Shelley,
chance that
come all the way up here.
you could drag her up there?
Shelley, come on up. Here she comes. She's at Mission Control in the studio. So we're just bringing her out of the studio and bringing her up here. So for those of you who haven't had the pleasure of coming to Summit to meet Shelley, here you are.
Sweet and kind. That was kind. Speaking of thankful, Shannon,
Oh, thank you. We're so happy to have you on the team.
thank you very much. I'm really enjoying meeting everybody. Everyone is really kind and nice and helpful, and I'm doing my best. I'm learning, so be patient with me.
And so guys, so Shelly is our agent concierge in the Summit office. Well, she's happy to help anybody because she's just a super nice person. She's really there to help all of you guys in and out of Summit figure out what you need to do to be successful. So thank you for joining the family, Shelly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you for the shout out.
All right, guys, we are really excited about the new Productivity Academy, formerly known as Productivity Coaching Program. And Hal is going to tell you guys all about it. Seriously, don't just think this is more of the same. Literally listen. And even if you're saying, yeah, well, I'm an experienced agent, I don't necessarily need to listen to this. It doesn't pertain to me. I think it does, because I do think it's going to help you look for opportunities to bring people into Keller Williams and grow your profit share.
Right, absolutely. So Shannon invited me up to come and speak to all of you guys for 2 or 3 hours about the changes that we've been making in the productivity coaching program. Not really. I'll try to keep it to about 5 or 10, but here's what I want to I really do feel important that we begin this conversation, not with just what are we doing and how we've changed things, but why are we doing this? You know, they say all the time that people don't care what you do, they care about why you do it. And the reason why we're doing this is because real estate is hard. It's not complicated. You don't need an advanced degree, but real estate is hard. How do we know that it's hard? Because the numbers tell us 87% of all new licensees leave this industry within 18 months to 3 years. And for those that remain, 90% of the agents make, 10% of the agents make 90% of the money. And so it's a totally uneven distribution. Real estate is hard. Everybody wants a shortcut when things are hard, right? We all are looking for that guaranteed investment that's going to turn returns for us without having any risk. We're all learning for that magic pill where we can get the six-pack abs and not the keg that I'm carrying around right now, you know, but we're all looking for a shortcut, right? And for real estate, for years and years and years, the shortcut in real estate was knowledge. If you knew what to do and you knew how to do it, you were on the winning side of the equation. If you didn't know what to do, you lose. And that's the way it was in this industry forever. When I got into this industry 20 years ago, there wasn't as much information available on what you need to do to succeed. And so what happened in the early 2000s? In the early 2000s, real estate companies all over the country said, there's too many people falling out of this industry. We've got to do a better job of training our agents. And money was poured into training departments, and money was poured into training programs. And the manager became a teacher as much as anybody else in a real estate office. In 2004, Gary Keller wrote the blueprint book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, which said, here's how you do it. And suddenly the information was out there. And then as the internet exploded, it became easier and easier and easier to get information out there to folks. In fact, what began to happen is we could have experts who we could leverage, real experts, and they could distribute that information online to anyone. There's a whole new industry out there called edutainment. You know what that is? It's passively consuming information from top experts in the hope that somehow you're magically going to become an expert yourself. I can go online today on Masterclass, and for $99, I can learn how to shoot, dribble, and play basketball like Steph Curry. People laughed in the room. I don't know if you heard that on Zoom. You know what? Here's the thing. Am I going to be able to perform at Steph Curry's level simply by watching the video? And so here's what happened. Nothing changed in the real estate industry. There's now an explosion of podcasts and YouTube channels, and information is out there. And yet here's the truth. 87% of the agents continue to fail out of this industry. 10% of the agents continue to make 90% of the money. Something different has to happen. What we know is that it's not what you know. Knowing about something is not the same thing as knowing how to do something. And so we start to think about, okay, how are we going to build that bridge? How are we going to help cross that bridge between knowledge and being able to have confidence? Some of you are familiar with this notion of 10,000 hours, right? Malcolm Gladwell wrote in his book Outliers, some research study that talked about 10,000 hours of practice is what it takes to become world-class in anything. But where the public got that wrong is the perception that it's the amount of time. It's not just 10,000 hours. It's what do you do in that time? It's 10,000 hours of purposeful practice. And what does purposeful practice look like? It's about being in an environment where you're being asked to stretch beyond what you're capable of doing now, in a safe environment with somebody who can give you feedback in the moment, who actually knows what they're doing. That's the missing link in a lot of the things that happen right now on the social media channels. Is there's a lot of people who have a lot of opinions on what you need to do in your business who ain't never sold a house in their life. And yet, what we're looking to do is have a program that has measurable goals and measurable outcomes and accountability to help you move through your blind spots and shorten the curve from where you are today to where you want to go. In the early 2010s, Keller Williams was the first, and to my knowledge today, the only company that has poured as much resources into coaching. We have a culture of coaching in this company because we know that to succeed at a higher level, it's not just what do you know, it's can you do it? And so all of the folks who are trying to perform at the highest levels in our company have a coach. Howard Bunn has a coach. Shannon Aronson has a coach. Every one of our MCAs have a coach. Lucy Thompson has a coach. I have 2 coaches because I need more help than more people. But the point of the matter is, what we know is that in a culture of coaching is where we build that bridge between what you know how to do and being actually able to do it. Our coaching team that we're bringing here to you today, and on the screen right now, you see Lucy Thompson, who is one of our productivity coaches. You see my big ugly mug in the middle, and that's Teresa Locke, who is our transaction coach. Together, we bring over 65 years of hard-fought, in the trenches, real estate knowledge and experience into our coaching program to help you guys succeed. The question becomes, what does it look like? Here's what we're doing. Our coaching program is broken into stages. We have a full-time track and we've got a dual career track because we know that not everybody can be coached in the same way. In the full-time coaching track, we've got a launch program track, which is designed for folks who are newer in the beginning stages of their business, the first 2 or 3 transactions where they're really kind of getting ahead of steam. We have a transaction coach to guide them through the step-by-step process of how do you put a deal together? How do you keep it together? And as your business grows, we move into the momentum stage of the program, where you continue to build on your skills, but at the same time, develop a higher level of systems and knowledge so that your business can continue to grow. We have breakthrough coaching for folks who are already competent in the transactional side of the business, but are trying to figure out, how do I take my $5 million a year business and bring it to a $15 million a year business? Because there's coaching for that. And that's the kind of coaching that we're offering as well. We have a dual career track, as I mentioned, which is designed to provide the same kinds of coaching and training in the evenings and on the weekends for folks who can't do this during the day. And so what we're really looking to do is really pour in at the highest level possible, higher than ever before. When we take a look at how much coaching is available, here's what the program looks like. Monday through Saturday, 2 hours a day of practicing scripts and making lead generation calls, 6 days a week. We have 2 hours a week of group coaching with a productivity coach. We've got 2 hours a week of group coaching with a transaction coach. We've got group coaching with a momentum coach. Each one of our coaches is putting an hour of office time available for open office time for you to just come in and get what you need. We've got group coaching in the evening. We've got group coaching on the weekends. I can get you a schedule, but it is lots and lots and lots of availability pouring into you to make sure that you get what you need. If you need one-on-one coaching and you're plugged in and you're engaged, we make one-on-one coaching available to help you put together the specifics of your needs and your business. All of that is what we're looking to do. And the last piece that we're offering, which is the piece that everybody wants, is leads. For folks who are coming and who are engaged and are doing the things that they need to do, we will provide leads for you to work with as well. So it is an entirely new program, the Productivity Academy. more than we've ever done before. People ask me all the time, all right, that sounds interesting, but what's it going to cost? And that's people in the room nodding, and you're probably nodding on Zoom. So let's talk about the investment, right? Because there's two ways that you can learn. Our industry for years and years and years was, here's how you learn, go figure it out. Right. And so what we're looking to do is to provide the shortcut. And so to put it in context, what are the traditional investments that real estate agents pay to get a shortcut in their business? If you get a shortcut by working with relocation clients, agents fight for the right to pay 45% of the GCI referral fee and then get an opportunity to share a 50-50 split with their broker for that shortcut to work with relo business. People are fighting for the opportunity to pay 35% of the GCI to get quality internet leads through companies like OpCity or Realtor.com. You can pay a coach through a program like Tom Ferry or Brian Buffini, $500 a month to $1,000 a month without any guarantee that you're ever going to have any kind of success whatsoever. We don't want to make the financial burden that high. Here's what we do. Our coaches get paid nothing until you have a closing. We've structured this business model so that the coaches don't get paid a penny until you have a closing. That's a percentage of the GCI that closes on your transaction. What we believe strongly in is we're going to tie our success as coaches to your success as agents. If you don't win, we don't win. And I believe so strongly about that personally, that I'm choosing to walk away from the relative guaranteed safety of a salaried team leader position with a bonusing structure to go completely into a model that says, my family and I don't make any more money unless you guys are succeeding. That's the commitment that I'm making. So people say to me, well, how much is it really? Well, like everything in real estate, it depends. It depends on where you are, it depends on what you need. For folks who are in that productivity coaching model, they haven't done any business in the growth phase of their business. What that is, it's 12.5%. For 1/3 of what you would pay for an OpCity lead, for 1/4 of what you would pay for a relocation lead, you would have the opportunity to have the level of coaching without any expense to you until you have a closing. If you're in that breakthrough stage where you are already doing some business, but you're looking to take your business to that next level, that becomes 10% at closing of the GCI. And if you've graduated out, what do you mean graduated out? Well, we ask people to stay in the coaching program for a period of time because one of the things that happens is real estate is hard and growth is hard. And sometimes when you're being asked to do things that don't feel comfortable, it's easy to say, I don't want to do this anymore. We're going to ask you to make the commitment to stay in the program until you close $3.2 million of sale volume. How do we come to that number? It's not all the way to capping in our world, which is our goal to get to that 100% commission model, but it gets you well on your way. If you get to that level and you say, you know what, I really find the value in having a coach. The reason why I've succeeded is because I've had a coach. I have 2 of them. Then that goes down to a 6% investment. So it depends. But the thing that I want you to walk away with today is we are doubling down on making the investment in all of you guys, because we recognize that knowledge isn't enough for you to be successful right now. The market is shifting. We know what to do. 65 years of combined experience. We've been through market cycles like this. We know how to get you there, and we're prepared to coach you up. So that's the thing that I wanted you guys to know today. If you want to know more about it, reach out to me. There is actually, last week we had several information sessions. Some of those are recorded and available on YouTube. I will ask Katie to put a link to those in the Daily Dose so that you can watch one of those information sessions. But if you want to learn more about how coaching can help you take your business where you want to go and help you not only survive the shifting market, but thrive in the shifting market, reach out to any one of us. We're here for you guys. So that's what I got.
Thank you,
Any
Hal.
You're welcome. Any questions? If not, I'm going to move along.
I'm
Good to see you
hearing
guys.
great feedback so far, Hal, from people that are hearing about the program and talking about the program. So thank you to
Good.
you, Lucy, Teresa, and I know you've got more to come to even add on deeper and deeper levels of
Yeah.
value for everybody.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. All right then, guys, we have we're gonna go deep in being the economist of choice, and you don't have to change the slide, don't worry, Katie. Being the economist of choice and mortgages, we're kind of lumping that all together today because some of you guys may have heard our GRI guys brought in one of their chief economists last week or the week before. And I literally had people like hunting me down, telling me it was one of the best things they've heard, seen, or done. So at the end of this call, a little before the end of this call, we're going to start to replay that. It'll take the meeting well over time. Feel free to leave if you need to, but if you can stay, you're really going to want to. He has a perspective. We're also going to get Howard Bunn's perspective. And so I'm teeing the mortgage guys up that way because I want you to know that all of what's left of the meeting today is really going to be focusing on the real estate, what we're expecting real estate to do in 2023, and mortgages and interest rates are going to have just such a huge part of that, as we believe. So I'll turn it over to three of our favorite young men, Lampkin, Keene, and DeVito.
Shannon, that has a very nice ring
like
to
that.
it. Yeah, that's nice. Thank you, Shannon. Hi, everybody.
Katie, if you
So-
can, let's spotlight these guys in real time instead of the slide.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
John's not here today. I think, where is he?
Somewhere,
All right, somewhere in the country.
Miami.
Oh, there you go, in Miami. So, all right, so yeah, there's a lot of good things. Brian's gonna fill us in on some stuff, but we will tell you that there was a huge reversal in the rates yesterday.
Huge.
Okay, with the CPI numbers coming in a lot better than what was expected, which has to do with inflation. That's good. So your high level takeaway is that whatever rates were over the past 30, 60 days, they're far better this morning. Okay, and they're going to hopefully stay that way going into next week. So if you're talking about farming and talking about your database and talking about the people that have told you that they opted out of the market over the last 3 months because rates have gotten too high and they're going to take a pause, this weekend would be the weekend to absolutely touch your database and say, hey, rates have made a nice reversal where the house that you were thinking about may be a little bit more affordable now at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much about a half
In a
a percent
day.
they went
It
down.
was over 200
Yeah.
basis points.
And, listen, everything what Shannon was talking about, the expert that we brought in, that video is going to show after this meeting, and it's Barry Habib. He talks heavily about his prediction that the rates are going to come back down into the fives in the very beginning second quarter of next year. So, I mean, if you think about it logically, you throw so much money out in the economy during the pandemic where there was lines at every store in the middle of people supposed to be not working, that it takes a little while for that money to run its course. And the Fed has raised interest rates 4 consecutive times. So now we think that we're at the top of the hill and we're going to start to see that inflation numbers, fingers crossed, start to come back down. Because if that happens, that's good for all of us in the room. That's good for our buyers. That's good for our sellers with the activity. But your takeaway would be just, you always want to have a talking point. Your talking point this weekend would definitely be money's a lot cheaper than what it was last week. So if you're ever thinking about getting back in the market, and if I'm a buyer's agent, knowing that this time of year, there might be less activity and you have a better chance of getting an offer accepted, that might be the role that you might want to kind of present to your buyers to say, listen, there might be less competition rates. This is a window where rates have subsided. Is there anything out there that would pique your interest that you want to go take a look at?
Hey, guys, just make sure you repeat the question if you can, because we can't hear you online. Can you repeat the question?
30 pips. 150 bucks, I would say, on a $500,000 loan, 0.5% in payment.
No, here, I'll do it right now. So it's
6 for every 8.
it's just 3079 versus
Hey, Matt and John, Matt and Brian, can you guys hear
Yup.
me? Can you guys just
Yeah.
repeat the question?
79.
The difference in payment for a 0.5% in rate on a $500,000 loan and $1 million loan. I think it's about 150 bucks on a 500 and 300 on $1 million.
Yeah, exactly. It's $164 on $500,000 and you double that for $1 million.
And one other thing, I don't want to steal Barry's thunder in the video, but Barry thinks now's the best time to buy a home because there's a lot of buyers that said, you know what, I'm going to wait for rates to come down. There's less competition now. Typically these months, it's not as busy as it, normally is in the spring, but buy the house. If the buyer's comfortable with the payment, buy it now. If rates do drop next year, you refinance. But if they do wait and then rates do drop, what's going to happen? Everybody that waited, they're going to jump back in the market. You're going to have more competition. So
One other thing I'll chime in on. Next, I think it's Tuesday, the 22nd, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, Harvey Yellen spearheaded a request to have myself, John, and Brian speak about some of the specific products that we rolled out right now to deal with the interest rates being as high as they are. So there are a lot of creative financing options out there. So I'm not going to go into detail right now, but it is posted on the KW site and we blasted it out to the market center. We're going to have a lunch and learn Tuesday, the 22nd, I believe. And it's like 12:30 up in Summit. Myself, Brian, and John will be
The
at
21st,
21st. All right. Thanks, Katie.
Monday.
So we'll be there, but definitely you're going to want to use that opportunity to get brought up on the financing piece, just so that this way you have talking points when you're with your clients and you feel like you're somewhat up to speed and educated on where the market's going. Between that type of information, the Barry Habib seminar, and what we bring in terms of the information to you, you should feel really well equipped to handle any conversations that you have with your buyers.
And I just got two fun things to add. So we're in the Westfield office, December 15th. I have two comedians coming. So for those of you that came last time, we had a great turnout. It's open for our agents, your clients, and then also anybody that's going down to Triple Play. Make sure you let Matt, myself, or John know, because Guaranteed Rates having another party again on Tuesday night at the Borgata from 6 to 10. New band, better food, open bar for 4 hours. So if you're coming down, let us know.
Hey, Brian,
December 15th. Yes, Shannon.
wouldn't it be appropriate to invite fellow agents at other brokerages to the comedy night?
Sure. Yeah. Invite who. I mean, I would love to have this room packed, with 200 people. So sure. Bring whoever.
Yeah, we had a full
Awesome.
house.
Yeah, we did.
last
I mean,
one.
that
It
was a
definitely
great event.
And the guy is the comedy,
We
they
got
are
two
fun.
different comedians.
The same people this time or different?
No, we got two of them this time. Not the same one that we had last time, and same thing, food and drinks. So
Yeah, it's a fun night.
yeah, it is.
It's, and you know what, guys, I don't know, I've only ever worked at Keller Williams, but I can't imagine they're having as much fun anywhere else. So bring some of your friends. It's not a recruiting event. No one's going to talk to them about, drinking the Kool-Aid, but what a great way to introduce somebody to our culture.
All right, we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And
Thanks,
yes, Perry, you can ask clients. All right, Hal's back.
I'm just trying to move this around so that's not so glary, that light.
Awesome.
Trying to figure out where to put it. Maybe there.
Larry, is that a word?
That's a word.
Okay, maybe that'll be in Wordle tomorrow. I think we are ready to hear from Howard Bunn.
Yes, the best you can do is try to stand right in front of that light. That'll work.
Looks like I have a halo.
You do.
Nice. All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Howard, and I appreciate everybody being here, either live in person or online. So away we go. And we're just going to look at some data, talking about the current marketplace a little bit. One thing that I'm quickly learning is that mortgage geeks exist in this world to be the world luckily needs cheerleaders too. So they're always optimistic, and that's great. But so I hate to throw ice water on everyone's party, but we have an inflation problem, everybody, and 1 month's data does not erase it. So I do agree with Matt. I would jump on if there are better rates available now. I think that will be fleeting. So I would take advantage of that while I could. So there was a report released yesterday, which did come out better than expected, but still indicates inflation is running at an annual rate of 7.7%, which is horrible. And it's not a sustainable thing to have inflation running that hot. So what the Fed's been doing, as we all know, is trying to cool down a very highly functioning economy where we're functioning at such a high rate of speed that we're causing inflationary pressures. So just like slowing down a car, the Fed's got to bring us back into a safer operating rate of speed. And so they've begun to tighten rates. They're still expected to be tightening at least a couple more times, starting, let's see, it's November now. So they're going to raise rates one more time this year in December, I believe, is what the expectation is. So this is starting to have an effect on our marketplace. And what you can see here, these are prices. So you have to, whenever we look at these charts, you always have to sort of train your mind to remember whether we're looking at prices or units and volume. So on these first two slides, we're going to be just talking about prices for a second. So you can see that there is sort of a seasonal effect on prices. And you can also see, just looking at this first one, that median prices in the MLS have begun to come down last few months. And when you tell yourself that you're seeing that, one of the first things you notice is that rewind back a year, you see the same sort of pattern going on. If you're looking more at the middle of the chart there, you can see there's some easing of prices. So what I wanted to do was show people how much of this is just a seasonal thing and how much of it is occurring because of the Fed trying to tap the brakes a little bit. So if we look at the next slide, and hopefully they're in order here, tell you if they are or not. Yeah, they are. Okay, so good. So what I wanted to do was just look at these 4 months in isolation. This is the same chart that we were just looking at, but we're just looking at 4 months in isolation there. And what you could see if you had this in front of you and you weren't blind like I am because you're old like I am, the price decrease during those 4 months, and those are the last 4 months in well, actually they're the 4 months at the end of 2021 going from July through October. So if we look at the most recent 4 months and compare with those 4 months, the same exact 4 months a year later, you can see that that decrease there in the chart you're looking at right now is about 6%, just under 6% price decrease in those 4 months. And then next we're going to look at the same 4 months this year. And you'll see when that comes up that decreases about 9%. So potentially what my theory would be that the rate hikes are beginning to creep into prices. They're not just slowing down the rate of turnover that we have in the marketplace, but you're beginning to see a lack of gain in prices. Let's look at the next chart so we can just show everybody what we're talking about there. There we go. Perfect. And so you can see that decrease is about 9%, a little over 9%. And my theory is that that's probably being caused by these higher rates. So leaving the topic of prices for a second and going to the next slide, we're going to look at what the turnover has been looking like. And these are the reason we do this, guys, is because these are important conversations for you to be able to have with your clients, so that you can show them that you understand what the dynamics in the marketplace are, what's going on, and you can help them make decisions as they work their way through the marketplace, whether they're buying or selling. So here's another chart, which the first thing you think when that jumps out at you when you look at it is that there's very clear seasonal effect going on there. And so for sure we can see the inventory, which is the red bars there. Those are units that are for sale. It has nothing to do with prices, just units available for sale in the marketplace. And you can see that each year, and if you isolate October 2020, the very leftmost bar, and in the center, October 2021. And then on the right, we have October 2022. If you just look at those three and sort of train your eye to focus on them, you can see that each October we're having less and less available inventory. You would think if the rates were if the Fed were driving up rates infinitely high, you would think that inventory would be growing. So it shows you how strong a seller's market we really have had in place, that this still persists even today, where we're very simply, we're just operating in an environment of limited inventory. And that still occurs despite what's been going on with rates. So let's look at this same chart again, and we're going to strip out right now. So we want to see what turnover is looking like. So let's strip out the red bars. We'll go to the next slide, and the red bars will disappear. And what's left is just the under contract bars, which are the blue, and then the green are the closed business. And again, you see a bit of a seasonal effect going on here. So each year we see more activity going on in the summer and then less as we get into the winter months. But interestingly, you can tell that if you try to just focus your eyes on the Octobers, so the October 2020, 21, and 22, if you just look at those, you can see that we are steadily declining. So clearly we are slowing down in the amount of turnover. And in fact, if you look at the leftmost bar, that's just under 5,000 units The center bar, the October 2021, the green bar is just under 4,000 units. And then, of course, the last one furthest most on the right is just under 3,000. So that's percentage wise, those are big drops. You're losing 1,000 units every single year that you move forward. So that is the reality. So let's again look at the last slide I'm going to show you. I promised Shannon I'd be sort of short here. And what this is just a snapshot of the amount of turnover that we see. So these are under contracts and that occurred for houses that were for sale for 0 to 90 days, which is the most populous, if you will, sector of the market. If you're just looking at days on market, the most activity occurs in the houses that come on and go off in 90 days. And looking at this, you can see too, again, the same optical trick. Just look at Octobers and compare them to each other. You can see that we're having less and less turnover in the marketplace. And I don't know where this all ends, but there is a constriction point that we're all going to approach soon. And it'll be an interesting market coming up this next year. I definitely expect that we'll be operating in an environment with higher rates. And it doesn't, one of the things that the mortgage guys say that I absolutely love, which is great, is what is the interest rate if you decide to rent? It's 100% because you're paying somebody else's mortgage all of a sudden. So it's not the end of the world operating higher rates, especially if you understand what's going on and you figure out a strategy and you plan to operate in that environment. And that's pretty much it, guys.
Hey, Howard.
Shannon, I have one question from
Perfect. And just make sure you repeat it.
yeah, I'm going to, as soon as I understand it, as soon as I get a translator.
Entire Garden State MLS?
I'm sorry, sweetie.
Entire Garden State MLS.
Yes, this is the entire MLS. The question was, is this the entire MLS?
It showed that 2021 October was 6% in the prices compare, and then this year, 9%. But the prices are much higher, right, compared to the October last year. So if you treat that differences, what are we, like less than 2%?
Yeah, the price declines are very, very small so
Okay.
far. And frankly, I don't expect that to change.
Yeah.
This,
Restate that question.
Point out instead of 9 to 6.
yeah, so Natalia's basically asking about the magnitude of the price declines that we're seeing going on. And don't forget, there's a seasonal element to it. So that would be going on even if there were no Fed activity going on. So the price declines are not all due to the fact that we're in a environment of rising interest rates. So you would have some declines anyway, just seasonally, and rises in the summer. So that would be going on regardless. But my theory is that possibly that extra decline, which is very small, you're absolutely right, only about 3%, is due to the Fed activity. That would be my guess. But it is small, and I expect it to stay small. And one thing you can do, I mean, the best thing to do when you're thinking about this kind of stuff is to look at history. And when we had a slowdown in 07, 08, and 09, you know, locally, we were very lucky in many ways. This is a very popular area. It's an affluent area, and this part of the country did not see a lot of price declines. I wouldn't expect to now either. So, Shannon, did you also have a question?
Yeah, well, one of the great things about Howard Bunn is that he's very available and it loves to geek out about this stuff. So I know he'll be sticking around for a few minutes. If you guys have questions, feel free to talk to him. As promised, we are gonna roll this video. And Howard, is Brian DeVito still there?
Yeah.
Hi, Brian. So
Morning.
just I'm gonna say one more thing and then I'll turn it over to you to tee this up. I've had a lot of conversations with Howard about this, and Howard loves our GR guys, and I hope you guys appreciate that if you get one perspective from an expert like Howard Bunn and a different perspective from what we're about to hear, that's a good thing. The more you guys educate yourselves on all the different opinions out there, the more intelligently you can speak to your clients. Take it away, Brian.
Thank you. Can we put that slide back up that has the 4 people? Okay.
It's coming.
Okay. Guaranteed rate. We have a relationship with Barry Habib. Barry Habib, for those of you that don't know, he's the Jeffrey Otto of mortgages. He's an award-winning author. He's predicted what's happened with rates and the real estate market in the past. And we were fortunate enough to bring him in to do a presentation. Unfortunately, I know it conflicted with continuing education, so we only had about 13 people here. However, everybody that watched it, they loved it. They personally came up and thanked us for bringing him in. So we'll replay that video. There's a lot of great information in here, and hopefully everybody enjoys it. Thank you.
Right.
Manager. And welcome everybody. My name is Dean Moran. I am the Northeast Divisional Manager here at Guaranteed Rate. And I'm happy and thrilled that you were able to make this call today. Along with me, I have my boss, John Palmiato, who's the Chief Retail National Production Manager, here with us today. So JP, great to have you here on the panel with us today. Great to be here. And also we have Sean Panosian on the panel with us today, SVP of Sales and top originator in the country. Sean was personally responsible for helping to facilitate today's call. So Sean, I just want to extend my appreciation to you for getting us together with Barry and making this happen.
Of course, we got the best in the industry, in my opinion, at mortgage rates and very relevant information. So I'm excited to have Barry share his information with everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And we have almost 1,000 people that we're expecting to be logging on today. So a lot of people are definitely interested in hearing what Barry has to say, you know, regarding this crazy market that we're in. I just want to give a little bit of a bio on Barry Habib. And, you know, so Barry Habib is the CEO, as most of you know, of MBS Highway and an industry expert on all things that are real estate related. He is considered the industry's most highly regarded and recognized MBS Highway rather is considered to be the industry's most highly regarded and recognized tool for transforming salespeople into advisors. And it has really kind of become like the Bible for many loan officers in the industry today. He's also a #1 bestseller with Amazon on his book, Money in the Streets. He makes frequent appearances on CNBC and Fox News. And also, fun fact, he's a 3-time Crystal Ball winner by Zillow and Pulseonomics for the most accurate real estate forecast out of 150 top economists in the United States, which is really incredible. In 2019, Barry was named Mortgage Professional of the Year by National Mortgage Professional Magazine. And also in 2019, he was a finalist for the prestigious Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award. So he was named recently to the esteemed Mortgage Global 100 list for 2021 by Mortgage Professional. And during his mortgage sales career, Barry personally originated over $2 billion in closed business, which is truly a remarkable number. During his spare time, he was a lead producer and managing partner for Rock of Ages, which was the 27th longest running show in Broadway history. And didn't know this one, Barry also produced Chris Angel's Mind Freak. Many of you may have seen that at Planet Hollywood in Vegas. I remember watching that and was truly blown away by that one. That was incredible, Barry. I didn't know that.
Well,
And a few other things. Barry is also considered the highest rated speaker and trainer for over 25 years in mortgage and real estate. And his certified mortgage advisor course, also known as CMA, is renowned for elevating the professionalism and mortgage knowledge within the industry. And as an innovator, I think this really speaks to Barry's career. He's founded many successful businesses across many different verticals in real estate, healthcare, technology, which would also include Experience.com. So Barry, on a personal level, I really want to thank you again for agreeing to speak with us here today and for sharing your insights in this market that we're all currently involved with. We have last count was over 700, but I'm hearing now it's going to hit 1,000 people that are live streaming this from home, from work, as well as doing some real estate events with luncheons and things of that nature. Everybody is very, very excited to hear about where we are, where you see us going, what the future may hold. There's a lot of rumors, there's a lot of speculations, and we're hoping to really kind of get dialed in today here with some of your opinions.
Well, Dean, thank you so much. John, appreciate you having me here, and my dear friend Sean, it is an honor to be here with all of you. And anytime you get to chat with my friends at Guaranteed Rate and Guaranteed Rate Affinity Groups and the friends and really family that I consider you guys to be, it is absolutely a privilege. And Sean, it is so great to be with you. You're the #1 guy in the United States, man, which is an incredible accomplishment. I thought I did some decent numbers in my career. You blow that away. You do what I did in my whole career in like a single year. So you're really Superman.
Thank you very much.
It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you guys. So listen, let's get started. I'll talk to you first. And gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind, please muting. What I'm going to chat with you guys about today is this current market in a lot of different aspects, because there are fears with regards to the real estate environment. There are fears of potential housing bubble, where are mortgage rates going to go? Some people say, oh, they're going to 10%. Let's break that down and take fear out of it, and let's understand factually what is happening in this marketplace, and also where this marketplace appears heading. So again, guys, if you don't mind, just please muting. Dean, I don't know if you could just mute just so we can kind of, yeah, there we go. All right, so let's think about what are the driving factors here. So the real estate market right now is being impacted by higher mortgage rates that are keeping buyers on the sidelines. But the inventory situation is still very tight. Now, when we take a peek at where mortgage rates are headed, we have to understand what drives mortgage rates. Because I believe right now is one of the greatest opportunities in real estate, the greatest opportunities for wealth creation. I'm going to take the next hour and I'm going to show you why, but I don't want to just show you why so you understand it. I want to show you why so you can explain it and so you can teach it. And I'm highly confident that this will be a game changer for you. So listen, please focus, pay close attention, take good notes, because you're going to want to review this and you're going to want to explain this, because every one of your clients needs to hear this and every one of your referral sources needs to hear this. Otherwise, they're going to look back and they're going to be one of these things like, oh, I missed it. Every opportunity is born from adversity. Everyone. I'm embarrassed to tell you how long I'm doing this and how many years I've been doing this, but I can tell you this. When people, just before it turns positive, people leave the business, people shy away from making purchases on real estate. This is the opportunity that you've been waiting for, and this is also the market that you've been waiting for. Whether you like it right now or not, and I know it causes some heartburn for you, but this is the market that you wanted, because this gives you the chance to outshine your competition and position yourself to gain market share going forward. And there will be a tomorrow. It's not that far away. There will be a market where things are a lot better. So right now gives you the opportunity to position yourself for it. So let's go step by step. First of all, mortgage rates. So what drives mortgage rates? It's not the Fed. The Fed doesn't have anything to do with mortgage rates directly. The Fed controls an overnight lending rate. That impacts a lot of things, but not mortgage rates directly. In fact, Fed rate hikes by going up can actually help mortgage rates, and it has done so in history if it's believed that what the Fed is doing is controlling what really impacts mortgage rates, and that's inflation. So the first thing to understand is that inflation drives mortgage rates. Why is that the case? Well, I want you to think about this. If you were now lending money, let's say you're giving me a mortgage, you're going to get a fixed payment back from me in just about all cases. Even if it's a hybrid arm, it's going to be fixed for a long period of time. So let's just say you're receiving a payment from me of $2,000 a month. You take your check that you got from me for $2,000 and you get a shopping list of goods and services. Now, on that shopping list of goods and services, you get everything on that list for the $2,000. Next month, you get another check. It says $2,000. You get everything on the list. But over time, you discover that you can't get everything on the list. And you know why? The reason is because inflation, because prices start going up. And now I got to leave a few things off. It costs more for these things. So the check still says $2,000 every month, just doesn't buy what $2,000 used to. It's eroding in its buying power over time because of inflation. Now, when inflation is very low, and look, a year ago, what was inflation? 1%, right? Remember when the Fed wanted more inflation? At 1%, there's a tiny bit of erosion. So I'm not worried about erosion in my buying power. So therefore, I can offer you a low rate. But now, because inflation's gone up so much, my buying power is eroding a lot more rapidly. So what is my only defense? It's the only thing I could do to protect myself. I've got to increase interest rates. So on a similar mortgage amount, instead of getting $2,000 a month, I need $2,300 or $2,400 a month, because what that will do is will offset the more rapid rate of erosion that inflation is causing. And this is why when inflation goes up, rates have to go up. When inflation comes down, mortgage rates have to come down. So I'm going to bring up some slides. I'm going to share my screen. And I believe you can see that now. And we're going to take a look at exactly what this opportunity is and why this is the opportunity you've been waiting for. So we'll do this step by step. So first of all, let's break down, okay, we talked a lot about inflation just now. What is inflation? Well, inflation is simply too many dollars chasing too few goods. If everybody wants it and few people have it to sell, the price is going to go up. So what the Fed wants to do is destroy demand. It's called demand destruction. So how do they do that? They do it by taking some of the dollars out of the system. Now, what do they do in order to get some dollars out? Well, most of our economy is credit. For every $17 out of them, 16 is credit. So with a keystroke, you can create money. Just like when a family goes to purchase a car, they sign and they drive the car away. They didn't spend any money, but yet they got credit. So the seller got $50,000. So boom, with a keystroke, $50,000 got pumped into the economy for that family to get that car and drive off with it. So now that seller has $50,000 more. So we are seeing money created from credit. As I said, for every $17, 16 of it is credit. So the Fed wants to reduce that. So how do they go about reducing that? Well, what the Fed does is they hike the Fed funds rate. And while it doesn't affect mortgage rates, it does affect car loans. So that family that was going to buy that car for $50,000 with a payment of, let's say, $600 a month, that's when the Fed funds rate was back at zero, and they might have been paying 1% or 2% for that car loan. But now, Fed funds rate's already up to 3.25%, and maybe it's going, well, it's for sure going to go to 4.5%. Maybe it'll be above that by December 14th. That'll be the next two Fed rate hikes on November 2nd and December 14th. Well, when that happens, that car payment might be $1,000 a month. So that family may say, well, you know, at $600 a month, I was going to do it, but at $1,000 a month, maybe I'll keep the car half for a little bit longer. And that magic keystroke doesn't happen to create that $50,000. And for businesses, it's really big too, because businesses, they're borrowing big money. So maybe they were going to build that factory when rates were cheap, but now they won't because the math doesn't make sense. Maybe they're going to acquire that company, but now they won't because the math doesn't make sense. So what the Fed does, they hike rates and they pull money out of the system because they make it more expensive to where it makes sense, or maybe they don't qualify. But they also are giving us the opportunity to save money now, aren't they? Because remember when you couldn't get a risk-free rate of return? Well, today, even a 6-month treasury, 1 year, 2 year, they're all paying over 4%. They're going to be over 5% after the Fed hikes a couple of times. Now think about that. You can get that risk-free. The price isn't going to change because it's short duration. You're going to get your money back. It's backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government, and 5% is going to look pretty darn good. So they hike rates, and instead of spending it, People save it. That pulls money out of the system. Now, you remember all those COVID lockdowns, all the ships out of China that weren't flowing goods, the supply chain disruptions because of COVID. Well, that's really started to ease, and it's really started just recently to where now shelves may be overstocked with goods, and you could actually see some price reductions. So more goods, less money. We are seeing inflation begin to show the signs of coming down. Now, the problem with that is that in the real world, inflation can be coming down, but the way the Fed looks at it, it weights it over the past year, and that causes the actual what the Fed's seeing to be lagging what's happening in the real economy today. Now, I mentioned that the Fed funds rate is something where they're going to determine it based upon inflation and use it to fight inflation, but they admit that they don't understand inflation. You know, we now understand how little we understand about inflation. I mean, that's kind of scary coming from our Fed chair. And it's important to understand inflation because it drives mortgage rates, as I said. Now, I mentioned that to you, that mortgage rates follow inflation, but let's see it in real live action. So the bottom line here is inflation. And as you can see, inflation started moving up here in 2018. And as a result, mortgage rates started going up in 2018. But then inflation started calming down, and mortgage rates calmed right down too and followed suit and went lower. Mortgage rates went flat, so did inflation went flat, and so did mortgage rates. And then during COVID, inflation really dipped, the economy really slowed down. And so what did the Fed do? They started quantitative easing. They were buying lots of mortgage-backed securities and treasuries. And what they did was they kept mortgage rates. You can see here, this is the 3% line for mortgage rates. They kept them right around 3% for a long time. But something was happening. You see, inflation started to move up pretty dramatically, but the Fed didn't do anything. They kept right along buying QE, keeping rates at zero when they should have been hiking rates. They thought it was transitory. And then inflation really took off. And under tremendous criticism, the Fed finally started to take action. But you know, the reason why you've got 7% rates today is because the Fed was very lax. It's just like a patient. If the patient gets an infection, maybe you give them some antibiotic pills and in a couple of weeks, they're fine. But if you let it go for a long time, you need major surgery. Well, if the Fed would have responded to inflation here and stopped QE, okay, maybe rates go up a little bit. Maybe they hike rates a little bit, but you get inflation under control and we'd be okay. Now you need the major surgery. And that's unfortunately what they have to do. Now, it's not just the Fed. Our government, in an inflationary environment, started pumping stimulus. I'm not going to say, you know, from a political standpoint, right, wrong, whatever, but you know, pumping stimulus in an inflationary environment is simply inflationary. Now, once the Fed stopped with QE and stopped fixing mortgage rates roughly at 3%, well, then mortgage rates did what they always do. They follow inflation. And as inflation rose, mortgage rates rose. When inflation kind of eased a little bit in the summer, in the early summer, mortgage rates eased as well. But as inflation started to take off again in late summer, mortgage rates followed suit. And that's kind of where we are right now. So if we want to understand when mortgage rates are going to come down, which will really help the housing market, the question is, when is inflation going to come down? So let's see. This is how you look at inflation. Now, there's two ways to look at it. There's the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index, and there's also the Consumer Price Index. Now, the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, comes out before the PCE, so it gives us a little more up-to-date, newer information. So we're going to look at the CPI. The CPI has a headline number, and then they have the core rate of inflation. Now, the Fed wants to only look at the core rate of inflation. So what is the difference between the two? The core rate strips out food prices and energy prices. So, you know, people might scoff at that. They might say, well, you know, hey, we need food and energy, don't we? So why would you omit that? Well, it kind of makes sense why they omit it, because what the Fed is saying is they said, listen, we only want to look at what we have influence over to determine the monetary policy that we're going to have. So food prices are oftentimes determined by the weather. The Fed can go and hike rates or cut rates, not going to change the weather. And energy prices have other factors. You know, if there's an oil embargo, if there's a pipeline disruption, if OPEC cuts or adds to production, the Fed can do all the hiking they want or all the cutting they want. It's not going to change that. So they say, let's just look at the core rate of inflation. And the core rate of CPI right now on a year-over-year basis is 6.6%. That means things cost 6.6% more than they did last year outside of food and energy. So how do we get to 6.6%? Well, this tells you year over year, which means that it is actually made up of the most recent 12 individual months of inflation data. So each month has how much it went up month over month. So if you add up the most recent 12 months, and the latest data that we got was September of 2022. So you take September 22 and you take 12 months and go back to October 21, you add all these up, account for a little rounding and compounding, then you got 6.6%. There you have it, nice and simple. So now this can give us a lot of clues. Now, anybody that's listened to some of my talks, I know I've done some talks for Guaranteed Rate throughout the year. And I remember telling the folks at Guaranteed Rate and the people that they brought in, their realtors, that while a lot of people were saying in late spring that inflation's peaked, I was saying, no, it's going to be a cruel summer. And we brought this up to all our subscribers and we said rates are going to go up over the summer and it's going to be brutal. It's going to be a tough summer. We're going to get a lot of heartburn. That's all the things that I've been talking about. And sure enough, we did. Why? So how did we know that? Well, we know that inflation drives mortgage rates, and we felt that the year-over-year rate of inflation was going to go up to from 5.9% to a rate much higher than that. So how did we know? Because we looked, this time it was looking ahead, and we looked at what July, August, and September's readings were going to be, and we looked back and we said, boy, while we don't know what July, August, and September's inflation numbers are going to be for 2022, we know they will be replacing very low numbers from 2021. These numbers are quite low. So we said it wouldn't take much to go above this and see mortgage rates rise. And that's exactly what happened. If you take a look July, we didn't get much movement because the July of 2022 number replaced the same number that it was in 2021. So not a big difference. But then August came. And August was up 0.6% for the month. It replaced 2021's number, which was only up 0.2. And the inflation reading went from 5.9 year over year to 6.3. Then we got the September reading. And by the way, when that happened, mortgage rates started to go up a lot after we got that result. And then earlier this month, we got the reading for September of 2022. That was also up 0.6%. And it replaced a very low reading of up 0.3%. And we went from 6.3 year over year to now 6.6 year over year. And that's why mortgage rates have behaved so badly over the last couple of months, because inflation on a year over year basis has jumped up dramatically. But now some good news. Well, we already know, we talked about this, that goods are starting to flow. We already talked about the Fed hikes will slow things down, and they're starting to. And November 2nd, there's another Fed rate hike. And December 14th, there'll be another Fed rate hike. So we know things are going to be slowing, and that'll take away pricing pressure and bring down inflation on the new readings. But we also now can see that the new readings, which should come in at lower numbers, will be replacing elevated readings for the latter part of 2021 and the first half, even the first 3 quarters of 2022. So we're going to get lower inflation readings replacing higher inflation readings. This year over year number is going to come down. Now, it may take some time to get there, but we really believe that you're going to start to see rates get close to 5% or around 5%, maybe with a little luck under 5% in the first half of 2023, pardon me. You should see that happen the first half of next year. Now, a lot of this is shelter costs. The cost to put a roof over your head. How much? Well, 39% of core CPI is shelter. And there's a problem with the way that they look at shelter, in that it lags. You see, we know that in real time right now, shelter costs are decelerating. So we know that it's coming to a less of a influential level in pushing the CPI higher. But when the Fed looks at it, they look at it on a lagging basis. So they're getting this tail end when it was going up to be reflected in the actual CPI numbers, 39% of it. Kind of reminds you this pattern here, like a roller coaster. When the roller coaster reaches its apex, and the middle of it is at the apex, remember you going up a roller coaster, then you get to the top of it. The front of the roller coaster is actually heading down, but the back is still on its way up. So in the real world, where we are today, shelter costs are starting to decelerate, come down. but the way it's measured in CPI, it's still propping it up. When we get to January of 2022, we will be like through the snake here. We will be where you see this fully decelerating. And that should give us a more rapid drop in CPI. So we'll start to get some relief with the next CPI report. That comes out November 10th for October. But after we get the January number, that'll come out the beginning of February, you'll really start to see it come down. And I think that's why the first quarter of next year is looking very good to us as far as improvement, big improvement in interest rates, and probably get to around 5%. So this is a great opportunity for us for many reasons. Now, I'm going to show you a lot more about the housing market and where we're headed, but I want you to think about how this is piecing together. You can now negotiate a better price on real estate. A year ago, I had to pay you $50,000, maybe more than asking price. No terms either. Forget about a home inspection, maybe not even an appraisal. So I had all cards stacked against me as a buyer. Now it's more normal. I can actually negotiate. I could get a better price. I could get some terms I want. And guess what? I can get you to pay for my 2-1 buy down. So think about it. I get my 5% rate now. Next year I refinance and I keep a 5% rate for the rest of the term. And to pay for it, I get a refund because remember, on a 2-1 buy down, you're going to get a refund because the second year's interest is prepaid. So you're going to get that back. That'll pay for your refinance. Because remember, you bought it down 2% the first year, 1% the second year. You're not going to use it the second year. So you get that refunded to you. And now I'm going to buy the home of my dreams with the rate I want at a discount. And then when rates get to 5% next year, we already know it's a tight inventory environment. I'm going to show you how tight in a minute. When all the buyers come back out, guess what happens to real estate values? But you got to be smart and you have to see the future before it becomes obvious. That's what we try and do every day at MBS Highway, is see the future before it becomes obvious. You have to see beyond the headlights. Very few people gain the benefit of opportunities because they're so focused in the rearview mirror, like the Fed, or so focused in just seeing what's in front of them and not seeing what's ahead. Wasn't it Wayne Gretzky, perhaps the greatest athlete of all time, when you look at compared to what he did compared to everybody else, who said, I'm not going to where the puck is, but I'm going to go to where the puck is going to be. Where the puck's going to be here, where the market's going to be here, is lower rates next year with higher prices that you can take advantage of getting a discount on in the future right now. There's another aspect of it is money supply. And we know that a lot of excess money has been sloshing around, but it's already flattened out and it should begin to decline. It's actually declining slightly. It's the first time it's been declining since 2004. So we're seeing that benefit. One of my mentors, Lacey Hunt, who is in my opinion, one of the brightest minds in the bond market, he expects this to neutralize in March. And therefore, we should start to see the benefit of this, even pushing inflation down further. So folks, everything is in our favor here moving forward to see lower rates, which will juice the real estate market. And you know what? Even the bond market believes that. The smartest investors out there, they believe it because you can't get a 0-point loan. So how does that tie together? Well, think about it. A 0-point loan for a customer, I know people call it par, but it's really not par. Par means it's being sold at par, equal value. It's not sold at par because then if the customer's paying 0 and investor's not paying above what the value of the loan is, then how are you getting paid? So that can't be. A $500,000 loan, if the customer's paying 0, then it's got to be sold for more than that. So it's got to be sold for $510,000 to an investor. So why in the world would somebody pay $510,000 for a loan that's only going to give them back $500,000? Well, because they're getting a higher yield than market rate. So it's an addition above market rate, maybe 0.75%. So they might like that and say, hey, look, if I keep this thing for a couple of years, I'm making money. And if they stay in this home for 6 or 7 years and don't refinance, wow, I made a boatload of money. But guess what? If it pays off earlier, they lose money because they're only going to get back $510,000 if the loan pays off in 6 months or 8 months or a year. Well, they've lost money on that. So they don't want to do it. So what they're going to do is make it painful or try to discourage you from doing that by either not offering it or making it extraordinarily expensive or painful. But what this means, if you read between the lines, is the smartest money out there is agreeing with us and saying that rates are coming down and all these loans are going to be refinanced. Now, the Fed, they're fixated in the rearview mirror. This is Loretta Mester. She is a Fed president from Cleveland. She's a voting member this year. Fed presidents, except for New York, rotate. There's 19 Fed members. 12 of them vote in the Federal Open Market Committee. Those are the voting members. And they vote on something really important, the most important price in the world, and that's the price of money. It's the Fed funds rate, what to do with it. And she says, like many Fed members do, that we've not seen any progress on inflation. We need to bring interest rates up through this year and into next year. Monetary policy needs to become more restrictive, means higher rates, to put inflation on a sustainable downward path. She just said this a few weeks ago. But because she's looking in the rearview mirror. See, inflation's already coming down, but she's driving forward, very dangerous, while focused on what's in the rearview mirror because she's looking at lagging indicators. And to prove this, let's take a look at what she said just last year. Now, just last year, inflation, as you saw in that chart that I showed you, was on a tear, much higher. But because it lags, what did she say last year? I'm not concerned with inflation running away. I'm not worried about inflation getting out of control. The Fed needs inflation to rise. By the end of 2021, she expected inflation to be between 3.5% and 4%, and she expected inflation to drop in 2022. Again, she just said this a year ago, folks. You know, think about the flip-flop that they do. It's because they drive while looking in the rearview mirror, and the policies that they set take time for it to be in effect. So you're making decisions based on the past on things that will take time for the effects of it to be felt in the future. It's terrible that they don't adjust. And that's why they always lead us into recessions. Every time the Fed goes on a rate hike cycle, these shaded areas of recessions, they look at the last 70 years, again, over and over, every time. We're right here. Rates are going to go up at least another 125 basis points. So we're going to be up here and we'll be in another recession if we're not there already. Now, when you think about interest, what is interest anyway? Well, interest simply is the price of time. Well, what do I mean by that? You know, if you have money and I want to borrow it and you let me borrow it, then think about it. I get to enjoy it. I could do what I want with that money. I could have a party with it. I could buy stuff with it. I get to enjoy that money, but you can't because you've let me enjoy it. Now, I do owe it back to you. If we go out to dinner and we're there at the dinner table and I say, oh, goodness gracious, the bill comes. I said, I forgot my wallet. Could you lay it out for me? And as soon as we get back, I'll go ahead and reimburse you. You're probably not going to charge me interest. But if I said, hey, can you lend me $50,000 for 10 years? It's a long time. You're going to probably want some interest for that, right? So interest is the price of time. The longer you want to borrow it, the more compensation or interest I need, which is why a normal yield curve looks like this. Shorter time frame, lower interest. Longer time frame, higher interest. That's normal. But when the Fed hikes rates, remember, the longer side of it cares about inflation. The shorter side of it cares about the Fed. So as the Fed props up the shorter end, these go up, up, up. The longer end's worried about inflation. As the economy falters and inflation winds up coming lower, it's thought that money in the future might buy more than it can buy today. So the longer end of the curve goes down and the shorter end of the curve goes up and the yield curve gets inverted. When that happens, it leads to recessions because it's showing that the Fed's raised too much and the economy is too weak. And you see this red every time they've inverted, and every time it leads to recessions over and over and over again. And I'm going to explain to you in a minute why recessions are so important to us and to the housing market. This is a Fed governor. Now, Fed governors vote every year. Those Fed presidents, they rotate, but Fed governors, there's 7 of them, they vote every year. And his name is Chris Waller. And he says, well, recession, I don't know. I don't see a recession. How could we have a recession with a 3.5% unemployment rate? The job market's too strong. And a lot of people say the same thing, and it's a mistake. Because when you look at history for the past 80 years, what you'll see is that recessions don't start when the unemployment rate is high. When do recessions start? when it's at its lowest level and starts to tick higher. Let me show you. See, Mr. Waller would benefit from this chart because you could see over and over and over and over and over again, recessions begin, the shaded areas, when inflation reaches its lowest level and starts to tick up, then you get a recession. Lowest level starts to tick up, lowest level starts to tick up. That's when you get recessions. So why? Why does that happen? Well, it's easily explained if you understand it. So here you go. When business is good, job market's good, you know, you're growing, you need to hire more people, you start hiring people. So people that were unemployed get hired and the unemployment rate starts going down, 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 down. But eventually the cycle turns. And so as businesses slow down, one of the first things we do, and you know this all too well, is you have to start unfortunately letting people go. And as you do, the unemployment rate starts to tick up. And that's the first warning sign. Because then what happens, if you think about it, is those individuals that are now newly unemployed, they change their spending habits. They hunker down. They don't spend as much. And the businesses that used to count on them for their business, they see the slowdown because those people aren't shopping there anymore or buying stuff from anymore. So now they have to let people go, and the cycle perpetuates itself again and again. And that's why you get this phenomenon that leads us into recessions, and the unemployment rate shoots up after that because it just becomes like a cycle. And here's where we are right now. Now, you don't have to be a mathematician to see that we're kind of pretty darn close to the low levels where recessions tend to start, if we're not in a recession already. But the Fed doesn't see it. They say it looks like a soft landing. That's code for no recession. And maybe the water in front of you looks calmer. But if you look further than the hand in front of your face, you could see that there are some problems ahead. So why do we talk about this? Here's why. Because it affects mortgage rates. During recessions, mortgage rates decline. The last recession went down by 1% and then more than 1% during the one before that, and then a lot more, near 1% and then a lot more, 2.25% and then more, 5%, 4%. Mortgage rates go down during recessions. That's the main driver here that I want you to understand. So everything we're talking about here, this opportunity, rates are going to come down. And as they come down, this is going to drive a lot of buying activity because while people may be hesitant to buy a home now at 7% rate, at 5%, it's going to start to look really darn good. But you want to be ahead of that. And what the beauty of it is that you can buy and get the 5% rate down because you get the seller to pay for your 2-1 buy down. So what about housing? Oh, it's a recession. It's got to be bad for housing, right? Well, that's not what history tells. History tells us that in the 9 previous recessions, home values went up in 8 of 9 recessions, except one, the Great Recession here. But if you look, it was housing that started to peak and bubble that led us into the recession. It wasn't the recession that happened and then it caused housing prices to drop. So why did this happen? Yeah, it's true. We had pay option arms, negam, no income, no asset, no job, 580 FICO, nothing down. Yeah, of course, 100 LTV, not good. But at its core, just like anything else, it was driven by supply and demand. Everything in economics, every price is determined by supply and demand. And there was just too much supply and not enough demand. So how do you measure supply in housing? Well, that's builders putting up homes, completing homes. And there were a lot of them. In 2006, builders put up 2 million homes. But at the same time, households being formed, that's how you measure demand, dropped way down. So what is a household formation anyway? Okay. Imagine a family, mom, dad, and a child, and they live in a dwelling, I mean, apartment, could be a house, whatever it is. Now, that child grows up, and at age 33 is the average, they move out and get their own place. So now it's the same family, mom, dad, and a child, but instead of having one home or one dwelling that they live in, now they need 2. They have formed a household. And in the United States today, we're forming 1.7 million households. But back in 2006, let me show you where we were. Take a look. It was like 1.7 million households in 2005, but we got to 2006 and it dropped suddenly below 1 million and then went to like 500,000 in 2007. So what the heck happened here? Why did households, the blue line, drop so bad? And all at the same time that builders put up more homes, 2 million of them, than they ever have in history, even until today. What the heck happened here? Well, maybe what we should look at for clues is, did something change in the birth rates between this period of time? So let's go back. That we said that average age is 33 years old. So let's go back 33 years and see when these people were born. So 2006, 33 years before, that's 1973. And let me show you the birth rates. And here they are right here. Wow, isn't that interesting? Huge drop in birth rates. Then it went down further, stayed low, and then started to climb. Huh, doesn't that look a lot like what happened 33 years later? Huge drop in formations, went down further, stayed low, and started to climb. Isn't that incredible? Yeah, because those people were born 33 years earlier, and now they're coming of age. There's a reason for it, by the way. The reason why birth rates had dropped so much. And again, I'm not going to say this without any political or without any kind of other meaning other than what the fact was. So I'm not for, I'm not against this. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that the reason for the big drop was because in 1973, in January, abortions were legalized and birth rates dropped at that point in time. As a result, 33 years later, you had fewer people forming households. And now you could see birth rates, in the 80s and in the early 90s, they were really climbing. And that's the generation of people today that we're looking at now. In 1988, 89, this will continue to climb. So that means more demand going forward. If you want to know why the housing market's been so strong, why inventory is so tight, well, look at this. You have more demand than supply. It's that simple. More people want to buy than there are homes available. Home values are going to be well supported. Now, I said we are at about 1.7 million households. The latest data is 1.77 million. But you can see here, it's in this range of 1.6 to 1.8 million, a fair range to be in. That's demand. Well, what about supply? Builders are only completing 1.4 million, and every year they got to rebuild some of them. So maybe we're netting 1.3. And they're hesitant to build more because they learned their lessons from 2006 to 2009. So what is this telling you? That we are in and will likely remain in a tight inventory environment. You turn on the spigot of buyers when interest rates come down a little bit, and they will. And what's going to happen to home prices? You don't have to, look too deep. There's going to be more demand than supply, and home prices will probably do well. But that's not what the media wants to tell you, because good news doesn't sell, only fear sells. Now, Diana Olick and many others, they talk negatively about the housing market. She's been negative about the housing market for 10 years. Now she's on 3 times a day, putting negative stories, trying to scare people like she always has for the past 10 years not to buy a home. So how's her track record been of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories that she's put out there, literally, that are all negative about housing? Let me just show you a few to give you a history of what the media tries to do. So in 2015, 7 years ago, she said, we're in a housing bubble larger than 2006. But we weren't, were we? No, that year values went up 5% or $15,000. So she was wrong. The next year, did she offer an apology? No, she just said, we're in a new housing bubble, don't buy a home. But home values went up again. The year after that, she said, home ownership does not build wealth. Can somebody just point to the one person in the last 5 years that did not build wealth in home ownership? Just one. Okay, so completely wrong again, and home values in that year went up. The next year said, hey, it's better to rent than to buy a home. I feel sorry for somebody who listened to her and rented instead of buying a home, because no one's benefited from that. And home values went up again that year. Then in the middle of 2019, she had this big story, big lead up that she built up to this. And she's warning people, before you buy a home, heed this warning, and that the housing market's about to shift in a bad way. But that warning turned out to be incorrect as home prices went up yet again the remainder of the year. So at the end of 2019, her forecast for 2020 was don't buy a home because it's going to be hard on the housing market. You should be renting. Well, it's only hard if you didn't buy a home, Diana, because values went up $60,000 more, 16%. And then about 15 months ago, she put out this big cover story saying that housing boom is over. Well, we've gone up 18% or another 80,000 since then. So she's costing people on a $300,000 home close to $250,000. This is what the media does. They sell fear. If you really want to take a look at facts, well, let's make some comparisons. You think that in 2007, you want to compare it to that? Well, we had 4 million homes in inventory. Here's where we are today, folks. The most recent data from the this is from the National Association of Realtors, And we have 1.25 million units in inventory, less than a third of what's available. How are you going to have a bubble? Now, somebody might point to the fact that, yeah, but it's really gone up a lot so far this year. If you look between April and most recently, we've gone up dramatically from like 900,000 homes in inventory to 1.25 million. That's a huge increase. That's a bad sign, isn't it? And they'll just show you this and try and scare you. Well, what if I showed you the same chart, but instead of looking at just 1 year, see if you notice something if I show you 10 years. You see a pattern? Yeah, that's right. This happens every single year. Every single year, you get this big move up and then it crests and goes down. So why does this happen? I'll explain it. Remember when you were a child and someone new came into the school class in the middle of the school year? It wasn't easy for them. You know, it wasn't easy to get caught up, and then kids can be mean too. So parents know this and they want their kid to start at the beginning of the school year. So what do? They say, well, if we're going to move, we got to be in that home over the summer, June, July, or August. So if we're going to be moved into the new home, June, July, and August, we got to sell the old home when? April, May, June, July. April, May, June, July. Same thing with a little COVID distortion here, but April, May, June, July. April, May, June, July. Every single year, over and over and over. That's why it happens. And you can already see it starting to crest. Now, while there is 1.25 million units in inventory, that's not right either. Let me show you why. Because what's counted in that? Get this. You ready? Our home's under contract. That's right. That home under contract. Yeah, you think that realtor is going to take the client out and say, hey, listen, let's knock on these people's door. Let's see if they'll let us see their home. It's already sold. They're closing next week. But let's knock on. No, they're going to call the police on you. Okay. No, you can't count this. You have to take it into consideration and only look at active listings. This is what you can buy. There's 732,000 homes available in a country of 340 million people. And this gives you that same look, but now with active listings. And sure, inventory is a little higher. Well, rates are 7%. What do you expect? But it is still near historical lows. Except for 2021, this is the lowest level of inventory ever, even at the low points. And this will come back down too. Now, normally 25% of home inventory is under contract. Today it's 41%. Most recent data shows homes are selling in 19 days. Today, Redfin came out and they showed us that people are getting on final listing price to actual contract sales price, 99% of it. Okay, so homes are stubbornly resilient. But what about foreclosures? Oh my God, CBS Market Watch put this out there. They said there's a dramatic increase. Foreclosure filings are up more than 150%. That sounds really bad. That's scary, isn't it? Well, until you look at a chart. And yes, it's true, it's up 150% from last year, but last year there was a moratorium. You couldn't do foreclosures. If you take a look at it compared to a normal year like 2019, it's down 60%, but the media won't tell you that. It's down over 90% from where we were in a bad year like 2010. But they won't tell you that because that doesn't sell. Fear sells. And what sells in the media? You know, sex sells and fear sells. So this is like fear porn. That's what they put out there, folks. And that's what we have to combat. Now, here's a big one too, is affordability. And I want you to pay close attention to this because it is, yes, it is less affordable, but here's where I need you to put on your thinking caps. And I want you to see, let's test you and let's see if you're thinking about this like the media or like the Fed, or if you could see into the future a little bit. Okay, so last year, a $400,000 mortgage, let's say you're buying a home, you need a $400,000 mortgage, a rate of 3.5% last year. I think it was between 3.3 to 3.5 is the most recent data that we get here. So we're using 3.5%. So it's about $1,800 a month. Now, according to Fannie Mae, not a qualifying income, but the average income people have that bought this or took out this mortgage, it was $9,000 for the household. Great. The media shows you this change and they'll say, but in 2022, we know that prices have appreciated 15%. So you get the double whammy here. You have to pay more for the home, which means I got to take out 15% higher mortgage amount. So when I was able to take out 400 last year, this year I got to take out 460. Okay. Well, not only do we have that, but I've got a rate that's at 7% this year too. So my payment is $1,300 a month more, but the media stops there. Is that the right way to look at it? No. Because what about your income? Did your income stay the same as last year? Well, the best resource for this is ADP, the payroll company. So they examine, get this, ready? 25 million payroll records. So they got a pretty darn good handle on it. It's an enormous sample size. It's very, very good data. And they said that if you stayed on your job, your income went up 7.8%. If you switched your job, it went up 15.7%. So because more people stayed than switched, they gave an average of 9%. So what did that do to your income? So while your payment's higher, so is your income. So you now see that it's still more expensive, but you have mitigated this to a great extent. But we want to be fair here too, because we can't forget that's costing you more for gas, costing you more for food, costing you more for services. And that's the problem in today's market. Your costs are way up. And while your income's gone up, it's not as bad as the total cost. You've cut that kind of in half, but you're still kind of $700 a month more expensive. And that's the problem today. But let's not stop here. Let's not be like the Fed. Let's be able to see beyond the headlights. So if we start to look forward, I've fixed this payment, haven't I? If anything, I could refinance it and bring that payment way down next year if we're right, if rates come down, and they sure should come down. But let's assume that they stay the same and you don't refinance. Okay. What about your income? If we listen to ADP, and ADP says your income is going to go up 7.8% if you stay on your job, well then, your income is now completely negated the additional affordability issue in 2023. Folks, you have so many tailwinds. What an opportunity to see through it, to buy now, to get a deal. Warren Buffett said, you want to be greedy when others are fearful. Now's the time to be greedy. One of the greatest investment minds ever, Sir John Templeton, he said, you want to be a buyer on the most pessimistic day. There's a lot of pessimism there, but here's the opportunity. All these things that we're showing you. You need to do this because real estate creates wealth. You have leverage, and you folks provide the leverage that allows people to do it. Now, historically, real estate values have gone up, between 4.5% and 5%. So let's just keep 4% in mind for a second. On a $400,000 purchase price, what if we only went 4%? Is that good? Well, let's see. If I put 10% down, my investment's $40,000. So if the property goes up 4%, I made a profit of $16,000. A $16,000 profit on a $40,000 investment, guess what that is? That's a 40% rate of return. Now, I know some of you might say, well, what about the payment? Well, what are you going to do? You're going to rent, you still got to make a payment, right? So payment to the cost of living payment you make, but the return is how you get wealthy. And you get wealthy. We all want to get wealthy, right? So net worth. Here's a fun exercise for us. Kiplinger's released this just recently, and here's the thing. Kiplinger's, they tell us that if you want to be in the top 1% in the United States, the top 1%, how much net worth do you need? What's net worth? All of your assets minus all your liabilities. Everything you have minus everything you owe. You need $10.8 million to be in the top 1%. It's a big number. Okay, what about the top 2%? That's a pretty exclusive club right there, isn't it? Top 2% in the country? How much do you need? $2.5 million net worth. How about in the top 5%? Rarefied air, for sure. Top 5%, you need $1 million. And to be in the top tier, that top 10%, you need 800,000. Top 50%, 500,000. So while this is fun to look at and see where we stack up, what's amazing about this is what they said is, get this. On average, 2/3 of this net worth, 2/3, where'd it come from? Home equity. You want to be up here? It's a lot harder to do it if you're renting. You need to be purchasing homes. This is how you create wealth. And now's the time to take advantage of it, where you could buy and negotiate, have your cake and eat it too as far as rates go. Our housing forecast is for low single-digit appreciation. Now, some markets, look, if you're in Seattle, San Francisco, San Diego, maybe Phoenix, if you're in Los Angeles, if you're in maybe Austin, if you're in Denver, you have seen astronomical appreciation. So would those markets maybe come in a little bit? Yes, 5, 6, 7% after a 60, 70% run up. Yeah. But most of the country, you'll see relatively flat, low single digit appreciation, maybe come down 1% or 2%, but overall pretty darn good. But over time, you'll see closer to 5% on average, because a person's not going to buy a home and move in a year. That person over the 9 years that they're going to live there, they're going to get more than 5% on average annual return. And part of that's rents. It's going to pressure it up. Rents are going up 13% a year on new rents, 8% on renewals. Now, one of the things I'm going to suggest that you consider doing is, I'm part of this show, Financing the American Dream. Now, I don't have a financial interest in it, but I do the opening for them. And it's Emmy Award winning. They do it so well. It's on CNBC, it's on Fox. And I open up kind of as the host. And what I do is I talk about a lot of the things that you just heard me talk about, where I talk about what's happening in the marketplace and important things for individuals to look at. And I'll be on different locations doing it. But then the show shifts after my first opening 6 minutes or so. It shifts to local markets with a local host. And that local host talks about their market. Well, they'll feature real estate agents and individuals. The reason I bring this up is because I talk to a lot of these local hosts. You know, we get together and they're crushing it even right now. Because think about it. What if you went to a realtor and said, hey, would you like me to feature your listing on CNBC? You don't think that realtor is going to start giving you business? Of course they are. So what I really would like you to, and if those of you that are part of List Reports, you know that you get matched up with realtors who are doing business, so you can target them. I mean, it's like the perfect combination with List Reports. So if you would like to do this and apply, because a lot of markets are taken, if you would like to get a market and apply for it, I think it's a really good idea. I'm bringing this up to you as an idea to win in this market and gain market share. Scan this. You can't take a picture of it. You got to scan it on your phone and then go to the website and apply for it. Now, a lot of people are worried about the market, so they're choosing to rent, even though that right now purchasing would be a much better idea. So let's do a quick analysis, and you folks have access to this on MBS Highway, and you can certainly share this with your real estate agent. So your real estate agent really needs you today to help them and see these opportunities so they could share it to their customer. So here's what we do. Purchase price, $400,000. Loan amount, 10% down, so it's $360,000. Let's take a 30-year fixed rate of 7.5, way above where the market rate is now, right? And they think they're going to be there for 9 years, and we just pick the average that people are there. Okay, so there's some more negatives about buying versus renting. Let's throw out all the negatives. What are they? Well, property taxes go up about 2% a year on average, not every year, but the average is 2%. And then $400,000 home, it's going to cost you $2,000 a year in repair, so that's about $166 a month. And then the cost to sell, you don't have to worry about that as a renter. 6% of the appreciated value in the future. And if we take a look at the last 63 years, 4.5% appreciation, let's use that as a benchmark. Okay, that's through quite a few housing bubbles too, right? So yeah. So as we take a look at these numbers and we compare it to renting, you know, a $400,000 home, how much can you rent it for? It's going to be over $3,000 a month. But let's make it look pretty. Let's say you're getting a steal on the rent. Oh man, it's too good to pass up. I'm going to rent below market. And while the national average today is rents going up at 8%, the landlord likes me. He's only going to move my rent up 6% a year. So that's great. Is it better to buy or better to rent? Well, if you look at the payment, you might say, wow, renting's a lot better because buying's $3,500 a month, renting is $2,700. Heck, I should be renting, right? Well, remember that rent's going to go up. And by the 5th year, you're paying as much for rent as buying. And then when you think about the future, you're going to be there 9 years. Over the 9 years, you paid about the same. Or did you? Because one of the main things you have to show your customers, not all of this payment is actually a payment. Here's what I mean. When you look at monthly principal and interest, interest goes to the lender. We all know that, right? The bank, the lender, that's where their interest goes. But who does the principal go to? That's not a cost. That's your own money principal. Look, here's an example. I have cash in my left-hand pocket. If I take it out of my left-hand pocket and switch it to my right-hand pocket, is it still my money? Of course. When you are about to write the check to the lender for your mortgage payment, it's sitting in your checking account, that money. When the lender cashes it, the principal portion is now in equity. Is it still your money? Yes, it's just in a different location. And it's a lot. In this example, it's $41,000. $41,000, folks, okay? Now, how about appreciation? Well, Historically, it's at 4.49%. By the way, the forecast is 5 and change percent, but we're going to just go with the historical for 63 years, 4.49%. Let's be conservative. What is 4.49% compounded annually on $400,000? That's not easy to do, right? Not easy for you, for your client, for your realtor, which is why you have to show it to them. Because after all, Albert Einstein said compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. And here's why. It's $194,000, just 4.49% compounded annually for 9 years. That's why so much wealth is created in real estate. So much net worth comes from home equity, folks. Look at these two things. You've got $235,000 in home equity creation. You don't get that renting. You also get a little tax benefit, but you do have the cost to sell at time of when it's time to sell it, and the future value, 6% of the new value. Put it all together, and at the end of the 9 years, you've got an extra $205,000 better than renting. And that's not even considering what if you refinance next year back down to 5%. What are you going to have, 275,000? And gosh, so much better. If you stay there longer, you make more. But even if you stay there for a shorter time, you do pretty darn good. Is it bad to make $93,000 in 6 years? Is it bad to make $38,000 in 4 years? Look, I tell the customer, if you're going to be there less than 2 years in this environment, rent. But if you're going to be there longer than 2 years, why would you not buy the home? Well, I don't like the way 7.5 sounds. Well, do you like the way 15,000 sounds, 60,000, 100,000, $200,000 sounds? You're going to miss that because you don't like the way 7.5% sounds? Isn't that silly? You have to show it to them and share it with your realtor. Co-brand it. You have access to this in MBS Highway. Just do it. Why would you not? Why would you not show this to everyone? Why would you not get more business from realtors by putting this in every single one of their open houses? Why would you not? It takes you 3 seconds to pull up. And what's the return that you get? Enormous. Investment properties. Did you know that 1 out of every 6 transactions is an investment property? 1 out of 6. If you're not doing it, you're missing 1 out of 6 deals. If you don't teach your realtor to do this, they're missing 1 out of 6 deals. The thing of it is that real estate investors don't have any good tools to analyze it. None. Zero. Which is why we created it. The only one that have it. But Guaranteed Rate has access to it. So here it is. Purchase price, $500,000. They put 25% down, $375 mortgage, 7% in 1 point, let's say. They're going to own the home for 10 years. They got the cost to buy. They got the repair cost on average per month. They've got property tax increases and the cost to sell, and the forecasted average annual appreciation going forward is about 5.4%. Now, how much rent can they get for this $500,000 home? About $3,500 a month. The year-over-year rental increases, I know that we're at 8% a year now, but let's just say you only get 6%. And the current vacancy rate on average in the United States is 4%. So we'll use that. Factoring all these in, vacancy, all that stuff in, let's take a look. In year 1, you're going to lose a little money. Yeah, about $350 a month. But by year 10, you're making $76,000. What's your cash on cash return? 54%, not too shabby. But what about the big money? Yeah, appreciation, $352,000. That's just 5.4%, folks. Amortization, $53,000. Let's put this on a little spreadsheet here. So what you show your client is, hey, okay, you got your rental income, $531,000. That contemplates that, or already considers the vacancy. Appreciation, $352,000. So you're going to bring in $880,000, but you got expenses, interest, property taxes, insurance, repairs, closing costs to buy and sell, $468,000. Well, you made a profit of $415,000. Now you made an investment of $125,000. So what was your rate of return on it? 332% over 10 years. Now, what is that per year compounded? Well, obviously don't take this and divide it by 10. That's not compounded. The compounded rate of return that you got on an annual basis each year is 15.8%. 15.8%. Money managers, the best of the best of the best. Hall of Famers get 15%. This is why real estate is such a great investment to make. And now is the opportunity that you've been waiting for. Don't miss it. Don't let your customer miss it. Don't let your realtor miss it because the media is trying to sell advertising and sell fear. Now, by the way, you want to help your realtor? The next time they go on a listing, pull the AVM in MBS Highway, the MB estimate. What a great presentation at that listing to show the AVM. What a great thing to have in an open house. What a great thing for the realtor to have at their fingertips to show prospective buyers. Here's the appraisal. Here's all the comps. Do the work for them. Here's their location. And here's the trends for square foot, for sales, for activity. Done. And what about a real estate report card? This is huge. It takes seconds to pull up, but incredible value. And you all have access to this. Just use it. Show this to your realtor. Co-brand it with them. Because just put in the MLS number or just the zip code, and you'll get the historical and future appreciation. And you can see what it does to the value of the home. You can see the demographics. You can see renters. You can see how many household formations, how many homes builders are going to put up, the shortage. You can see affordability, unemployment, income, jobs. Your realtor needs you to help them right now. Your client needs you to show them right now. And if you do this, you set yourself up for exponential growth right now. When the market was crazy, everybody was benefiting. But believe it or not, this is the market you want, because this is how you can distinguish yourself and set yourself apart. Exponential versus linear growth is what you want. Look, if I took a penny and doubled it every day, 1 cent, 2 cent, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, at the end of the week, I got 64 cents. But what if I started a week earlier? I'd have $82. If I started a week earlier, I would have had 10,000. What if I started a week before that? I'd have 1.3 million. If I started just 2 days before that, I'd have 5.3 million. 1 day before that, $10.7 million. What's the lesson here? The lesson is don't procrastinate. Procrastination is a thief. You think a guy like Shant procrastinates? One of the best implementers you'll ever see. Successful people don't procrastinate. That's an important lesson to learn, because that's what creates wealth for you. That's what creates exponential growth. Use these tools. Get this message out. Listen, let me ask you something. After what you've just listened to, imagine a real estate agent. We're talking to a customer. Wouldn't almost every real estate agent wish they had Barry, me in front of them to explain why they should buy? Wouldn't every real estate agent love that? Well, don't make it me, make it you. You can now do that. Practice. Practice in front of a mirror. Practice with each other. Read. Get the tools. Become a certified mortgage advisor, for goodness sakes. Invest in yourself. Do it now. Because your best opportunities didn't pass you because the market was hot the last 2 years. You don't even realize what's ahead of you. Your best opportunities aren't in the past. They're ahead of you. Back in 1899, 123 years ago, Charles Duell, the guy you see in this picture, was the head of the U.S. Patent Office. And he said, and I quote, so let's close the patent office. He said, why, Mr. Duell? He said, we don't need it, because everything that can be invented has already been invented in 1899. Don't think your best opportunities are behind you. Invest in yourself. Sharpen your skills, because your best opportunities are ahead of you. Believe me, I wrote a book about opportunities that, thanks to many of you, helped make it a #1 bestseller. Folks, thank you so much. I'm happy to take some questions. Shant, if you'd like, or Dean, if you'd like. I am more than happy to take some questions. Try and see if we can address what people are thinking out there.
Yeah, Barry, that was absolutely illuminating. Really tremendous presentation. I did receive quite a few questions, and I've been trying to steadily kind of check off the ones that I know you addressed. Let me just get to a couple of them. And I think one that's really important to us, when it comes to the larger banks, and the last time you and I spoke, I was with a very large bank at the time. But what percentage of the banks in the future, you know, their loyalties kind of ebb and flow a little bit to the mortgage industry. Do you see that changing? Do you actually see some of them just making mortgage more of a service than a real standalone division?
That's a difficult one. I mean, that's anybody's guess is how bank is going to change policy.
Understandable. Next one, jumbo securitization market, especially for IMBs. You know, it's been dry, obviously, with the environment that we're in right now. Do you foresee that opening up in the future?
Yeah, when rates come back down a little bit, that market's going to certainly open up. Yeah, of course. Just like anything else, more liquidity will bring more opportunity.
For sure. Second homes and investments, you briefly touched upon that. In terms of the immediate.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, the question that came in is, what is the future of that market? Right now, things are definitely, a little tight in that regard.
So second homes is very geographic, okay, and also very demographic. So it depends on where and what it looks like in individual markets, because second home markets tend to, again, as I said, be more geographic and demographic. So that's going to vary quite a bit. So it's difficult to speak to that overall. With regards to investment properties, look, investment properties, in my opinion, present a great opportunity right now. I think that I would be a big advocate. Use the tool that we have to do the analysis, and if it makes sense for you, then absolutely you should be considering investment properties.
Yeah, and someone also emailed a question, how do you set yourself apart in such a tough market? Well, I think that's what MBS Highway is all about. Becoming an advisor, using those tools and resources really is how you set yourself apart.
Dean, agree with you 100%. And your knowledge, one of the things we do every day in MBS Highway is we do the morning video. That's 7 or 8 minutes. That's an investment in your brain. And then practice it, script it, practice it. I mean, you want to be the resource in your marketplace. You want to be the most knowledgeable individual in your marketplace. That's how you get market share, because people will go to you. Like I said, imagine that realtor, any realtor, wouldn't they love to have what we just learned to be put in front of their client? And if you put yourself in the position to get your CMA, watch the daily updates, pay close attention, rehearse, practice, you make yourself that resource that every time you talk to a realtor and their client, they're saying, doesn't matter what the rate is. You have to talk to every single one of my clients because this is what they need to hear. What does that do for your business? Just think about that.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely tremendous. Barry, that's all for the questions. Like I said, I've been checking off the ones I knew you already covered. I didn't want to be redundant, but I really can't thank you enough for doing this for us and taking this time to kind of talk to us about, where we're at, where we're going.
It's a privilege. It's a privilege.
Thank you.
It's a privilege. Thanks for all you guys do. Be well.
Thank you so much, Barry. And I hope that we can get you back in the future to kind of see how things have evolved from here. So
why not?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.